Today we are doing lesson 6.7, simple interest. I can statements. I can use the simple interest formula to find the amount of interest earned or owed, the simple interest rate, and the total amount over time. So simple interest, you hear a lot when you are talking about either borrowing money from a bank or investing money in a bank. So if you are putting money into the bank pays you a small amount of extra money for keeping your money in the bank so that they can use your money for other things. If you are borrowing money from a bank, then they charge you a usually a little bit larger fee based on the percent that you have borrowed, and that's the interest. So you borrow the money and you pay a little bit of extra in the interest for how long you borrowed it. And no matter whether it's on investing or borrowing, the interest is a percentage number that's based on how much money you're using and how long you are going to either borrow the money or invest it. So for today, we have 4 different variables that are in a formula. And the formula is in the middle there of the screen. And it is I equals PRT. So it's right here in the middle of the screen. That I stands for interest. P stands for principal, rate, and time. So they're going to give you 3 of the 4 things, and then you're going to solve the formula for whatever your missing thing is. So interest is a money amount. Principal is also a money amount. It's what you start with. So if I am investing and putting $100 into the bank, that's my principal. If I'm borrowing $500 from the bank, that's the principal. The interest is that extra money earned or owed. Okay, the rate is a percent, and then the time is always in years. And sometimes it will be given to you in months, and you'll have to change it into years to put it into this formula. All right, so let's go ahead and try using this formula. So we're going to substitute the values into the formula, and then we're going to solve. So I equals PRT, that is our formula that we are using. I think I'll just write it up here at the top. I equals P, principal, times rate, times time. All right, you put $500 into a savings account. That is your principal. The account earns 3% simple interest per year. And actually, I'm going to go back here, percent, and we're doing it as a decimal, just like when we did the percent equations. Percent as a decimal. Okay, so 3% we have to put in as 3/100ths. And then how much interest is earned and what is the balance after 3 years. So 3 years is our time. Okay, so we're looking for how much interest. Our variable is I. Principal is 500. Rate as a decimal is 3/100ths. And my time is 3 years. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply. It's okay to use a calculator if you want. And we are doing 500 times 3/10 times 3. That's going to give us 45, and our label is going to be dollars. That's the first part, how much interest is earned. And then the second one is, what is the balance? Balance means the total amount of money. So to figure out that total, we have to add our parts. So 500 to start plus 45, and we are going to get a total balance of $545. That means how much is in that bank at the end of 3 years. All right, let's look at our next one, principal. You earn $45 in interest in a savings account. Your account earns 2% simple interest, and you have had the account for 3 years. What was your principal? So we know the interest. Interest is dollars. We know the percent. We're going to need it as a decimal. So that is our rate. We know the time is going to be 3 years. We're looking for our principal, which is the P. So for I, we're going to do 45. Interest equals our principal, we don't know what that is, times our rate, 2/10, times the time, 3. All right, so we're going to start by multiplying everything together on the same side as the variable. So we're going to get 6/100 times P. And then we are going to divide both sides here of our equation by 6/100. So we're going to do 45, we're going to divide by 6/100, and we get 750. $750 equals our principal. All right. Okay, formula, here it is again. Interest equals principal times rate times time. I equals PRT. All right, you put $1,000 into an account. That's your principal. That's what you start with. The account earns $100 simple interest. That's our I. In 4 years, that's our time. What is the rate? So our variable is R. So interest, we said was 100, equals our principal, 1,000, times our rate, we don't know, times time, 4 years. We're going to multiply this side together. 1,000 times 4 times R gives us 4,000 R. So we have 100 equals 4,000 R. We're going to divide both sides by 4,000. $4,000 divided by 4,000 is 1, so we're left with 1 R. And then we are doing 100, and we are dividing by 4,000. We get 0.025. But that is the decimal form. We want our answer as a percent, so we've got to move that decimal 2 places over. Our percent for our rate is 2.5%. Just like when we did the percent equations, if our final answer is a percent, it's going to be in decimal form. You need to change it into percent form for your answer. All right, and then our last type of problem, looking for time. You are planning to put $1,000 in a bank account with 1.5% interest rate. How long will it take to earn $150 in interest? Okay, this $1,000 is our principal. It's what we start with. The 1.5% is our rate. $150 is the interest. So $150 equals our principal, $1,000, times our rate as a decimal, 0.015, times our time, which we don't know. So we're going to start by multiplying the things that are on the same side of the equation together. So we're going to do 1,000, and we're going to multiply 15 thousandths, and then we're going to multiply our time. So we get 150 equals 75 t, and then we divide both sides by 75. 75 divided by 75 is t. 150 divided by 75 is 2. Label for time is always going to be years. All right, let's read this one. You put $800 in a savings account. The account earns 2.5% simple interest per year. What is the balance of the account after 9 months? All right, so there's one tricky part here, which is the 9 months. We need to make that into a decimal of a year. It's not 9 years, it's 9 months. So we are going to make that 9 over 12. If you're going to use a calculator to help you with that, you're going to do 9 divided by 12, or it could look like this, 9 divided by 12. So when we solve this one and we do 9 divided by 12, it gives us as our decimal 75 hundredths. That's going to be our amount of time in years. All right, go ahead and pause the video and try this one on your own. Okay, let's check it. So here's our formula. Interest equals principal times rate times time. All right, we know what we start with, which is our principal. We don't know the interest. Start with 800. We know the rate, 2.5%. As a decimal would be 25 thousandths, times our time, which is 75 hundredths year. The variable is already by itself, so we're going to just multiply the numbers that are on the same side together. So we're going to do 800. We're going to multiply 25 thousandths times 75 hundredths. We're going to get 15 as our interest. $15. However, that is not our balance. The balance is the total in that bank account. So we're going to go ahead and add on to our principal. 800 to start in the bank account plus the $15 in interest is going to give us $1,815 is going to be our total balance. All right, let's take a look at our next one here. A bank offers 3 savings accounts. The simple interest rate is determined by the principal. How long does it take an account with a principal of $800 to earn $100 in interest? Here we know the principal and the interest. We're going to use that principal to help us find the rate, and then we're going to solve for the time. So $800 less than $500 is 1.5%. 500 to 5,000 is 2%. 3% is for more than 5,000. So for 800, it's going to be in the second category here. Okay, so here's my formula again. Interest equals principal times rate times time. My interest is 100. My principal is 800. My rate as a decimal, 0.02 times time. We don't know what that is. All right, so now we're ready to multiply. So if I do 800 times 2 hundredths, I get 16. So 100 equals 16 times t. We're going to divide both sides of our equation. So we're going to do 100 divided by 16. We get 6.25. All right, so that's going to be 6 and 25/100 years. Remember, our label for time always going to be years. All right, let's try this one. So you borrow $600 to buy a violin. The simple interest rate is 15%. You pay off the loan after 5 years. How much do you pay for the loan? All right, we borrow $600. That's our principal. This is our rate, 15%. Our time is 5 years. We want to know the total that you pay. So we are going to solve for the interest, and then we're going to add it on to find the total. So interest equals 600, my principal, times my rate, 15/100, times 5. All right, so we are going to go ahead and multiply here. So 600 times 15/100 times 5 is 450. So our interest is $450, but that's not our total. We need to know the total that we pay. So to find the total, we have to add our principal and our interest together. So we paid $600 in the borrowed money, and then we have another $450. I don't know why I wrote a comma there. So when I add my numbers together, I'm going to get $1,050. All right, here is one to try on your own. Go ahead and pause the video and try this one on your own. All right, here it says in example 4, you pay off the loan after 2 years. How much money do you save? Okay, so we're going to still use our interest equals our principal times rate times time. We are still looking for our interest. Our principal and our rate will be the same. So let's go back and double check that. 600 15/100. This time our time is 2 years. Before it was 5, this time it's only 2. All right, so we're going to do 600 times 15/100 times 2. We get 180. All right, so we'll find our total. 600 plus 180 gives us 780. Okay, so that's how much we pay, but this says how much do you save. So we're going to go back to our last problem. 1,050. We're going to subtract how much it would be if we only did 2 years. And then we're going to go ahead and subtract here. So 1,050 minus 780 gives us $270 saved. All right, last one. Go ahead and pause the video and try it on your own. All right, so let's try this one. So assume $1,000 was deposited at a 5% simple interest when you were born. Approximately how much is the account worth today? So your answer is going to be different depending on what your age is. So I'm going to go with 12 because the majority of 7th graders are 12 at this point in the year. Some of you are 13. There are some people that are different ages, so depending on your different age, your answer might be a little different here. Okay, let's see. Interest equals principal times rate times time. We want to know what the interest is. If our principal was $1,000, our rate is 5%, and our time, I'm going to go with 12. So if you're 12, this is what you should have gotten for your answer. So 1,000 times 5/100 times 12 gives us 600. Then we would have to add it. Whoops, I said 600 and then I wrote $650. What am I doing? Okay, 600 plus what the account started with. So if you are 12, your account would have $1,600 in it. If you were 11 or you were 13, then you would do the same thing, but you would multiply by whatever number you are there for your age.